Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, welcome to an episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Please hold on a second, please. Hope everyone's having a great day today. Got to turn this down a little bit. I'm sorry about that. So let's go about this is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, April. During April, we recognize National Child Abuse Prevention Month and the importance of communities working together to support and strengthen families and prevent child maltreatment. Throughout the year, communities are encouraged to increase awareness about child and family well-being and work together to implement effective strategies and support families and prevent child abuse and neglect. NCAPM activities are implemented in partnership with our national child abuse prevention partners. Hold on. I guess I need to just. Okay. Sorry. The Federal Interagency Work Group on Child Abuse and Neglect and Families with Lived Expertise. Now, this is child abuse related activities are authorized by the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act of CAPTA. CAPTA provides funding to states to support prevention, assessment, investigation, prosecution, and treatment of child abuse and neglect. It also provides grants to public agencies and nonprofit organizations, including American Indian, Alaska Native tribes, and tribal organizations, for demonstration programs and projects. Each year, the Children's Bureau releases a child maltreatment report that explores data from the National Child Abuse and Neglect Data System, which provides details on cases of child abuse and neglect known to Child Protective Services agencies in the United States. The child maltreatment reports are an important resource relied upon by researchers, practitioners, and advocates. The reports answer questions such as the following: how many children were the subject of child abuse and neglect reports? What types of maltreatment were reported? What were the ages, genders, races, ethnicities, and other characteristics of child victims? How many children died from child maltreatment? They also provide information about the services provided to children and families each year by state and local CPS agencies. These services provided both when children remain in their homes and when they must enter out of home care, and are intended to address conditions that brought the family to the attention of the CPS agency and to prevent further instances of child maltreatment. According to the Child Maltreatment 2022, approximately 1.9 million children received prevention services. More than half, 55% of victims received post response services. Fewer than one quarter of confirmed maltreatment victims were removed from their homes because of an investigation or alternative response. These data include services provided or funded by state and local CPS agencies. We also recognize the critical work of the thousands of community based agencies that offer additional services to these and other families to help keep children safe and keep their families and help the families thrive. Now, I know plenty of others that the families are trying to work with CPS. CPS is supposed to be the main function of keeping families together, But I've noticed that it's getting worse where really they're keeping the families apart. And the more illnesses and sicknesses, yeah, I'll probably be in trouble for getting this out there, but it's true. The more sicknesses and illnesses they had, the more they could uh, get money for. And so a lot of times they're not wanting to get the families back. Instead, they want to give the child to somebody else who will give these extra drugs and stuff. Hello, Chris. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Hello, our bucket list. Thanks for coming in, sister. Appreciate you. Y'all, please hit the thumbs up. Hi there, Jackie Glenn. It's always great to see you as well. Hello, David. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. I think a friend of mine probably, um, I had him on the phone a few minutes ago. He tried to call back. I'm hoping he can click the link and actually come in here as well. So now let's go to the gist of this, where there's a lot of different myths about child abuse. Okay, one of the myths is child abuse does not happen in good families. Who believes that? Who believes that child abuse does not happen in good families? That's just a myth, right? The fact is, child abuse occurs across all economic backgrounds, education levels, religions, cultural, and ethnic groups. Abuse is not determined by wealth or family structure, but can happen in any environment where the safety and well being of a child are at risk. Myth number two, there's nothing I can do to help. There's a phone number that y'all could call. It's 1 800, the number 4, a child. 1 800, the number 4, a child. It is what you call 24/7. It's in a lot of different languages. If you don't feel right calling your local police, report it. In fact, if you suspect a child is being abused, it is your responsibility to file a report. Contact authorities is crucial. Even contact 1 800 for a child. Here's myth number three. If a child is living with an abuser, someone must have checked and found it safe. That's not true. But sometimes people don't even call in. Sometimes people are too afraid of getting involved. Sometimes they see somebody that's abusive or violent, and like, I don't want to put myself in danger or harm. And then the other times that they are reported and they're through the system, and somehow they keep slipping through the system a lot of times, where the child is still in worse shape than before. Myth four: kids will forget the abuse as they grow up. We know that's not true, don't we? Fact: trauma profoundly affects the brain. The effects can last well into adulthood. Some people suffer their entire lives. Not everyone has vivid memories. Many survivors of childhood abuse experience flashbacks, triggers, or emotional responses. I know if someone demeans someone who has been abused, it affects me. I know if somebody goes like that and withholds and says, well, that child deserved it, that child asked for it. You talking about, I'm going to come unglued. No child deserves abuse. And we would stand firm on that. Who agrees with that, that no child deserves abuse? They deserve discipline, but not abuse. Myth five: parents have a right to discipline their child however they want. I got an ex daughter in law that thought that way, but it's not true. Certain forms of discipline are illegal and considered criminal. Parents need to understand discipline should not cause harm, and there are legal and ethical boundaries that must be respected when disciplining children. So if you decide you're mad at your child, do you think it's okay to throw them across the room? Do you think it's okay to go ahead and shake your child? If you get frustrated at your child and say that your child cries too much as a little baby and stuff, do you just say, "Oh, I got a headache. I'm just going to let him be"? We done did a story on little Cole. He was such a sweetheart. and the mama just let them starve to death. We got that story, and we will not forget you. Some of my friends at Facebook, you're the grandparents. We will not forget him. Okay, number 6, myth 6. Children exaggerate or lie about abuse. Here's a fact. Children are not likely to lie about abuse. Research shows that children who exhibit developmentally inappropriate behaviors and disclose abuse are often telling the truth. Children do not have reasons to fabricate these experiences, and the behaviors they exhibit are often a direct result of what they have endured. Now, I know there's some who have lied to try to get a parent to go back to the other parent, or to try to get their way. Like one girl ran away from town here, right? And all because the daddy told her to get out in the yard and help him clean up in the yard. So the kid ran away. He said, "Oh, this is it was abuse. He was making me work without getting paid." Well, when I was growing up, everybody pitches into the do the housework or outside work. We help when we're needed, right? Myth 7. If there are no physical signs, there's no abuse. Fact. Many forms of abuse, including emotional and sexual abuse, do not leave physical marks. Children may exhibit non physical signs such as being frightened of certain caregivers, certain people, exhibiting extreme behaviors, or displaying developmental lags. Changes in sleep patterns, unexplained medical needs, or sudden withdrawal can be indicators of abuse. Even wetting the bed, going back and sucking your thumb, hiding out in closets. Myth 8. Physical abuse is the only real abuse. Fact. While physical abuse is certainly a serious concern, it is far from the only type of abuse that can harm children. A staggering 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys report experiencing sexual abuse by the age of 18. Psychological, emotional, and sexual abuse are equally damaging and often leave long lasting scars on a child's mental and emotional well being. Myth 9. Only men sexual abuse. That is so false. Both men and women can be perpetrators of sexual abuse. They say that women only abuse boys. They say that men only abuse girls. That is such a lie there too. Women, they have sexual abuse both genders, male and female, and so have men. They have sexually abused male and female. So it doesn't matter. Just because it's a man does not mean he's going out to rape a girl. It does not mean just because it's a woman, it's going to rape a boy. Okay? We know that's untrue. Also, so myth 10, strangers are the biggest threat to children. The fact is, strangers are not the biggest threat. Most children who are sexually abused know their abuser. Most child abuse is perpetrated by someone the child is familiar with, such as a family member, close friend, or trusted adult. Like teachers, the teachers are trusted, right? We send our kids to school hoping that and praying that our teachers are going to do it right. There's church members at times when you trust your child to go and have lunch with, like a child might be in your child's Sunday school class, and you don't know that that parent's actually a bad person. There's been pastors, police officers, judges, lawyers. And I know there was somebody that shares their story. I won't go into detail and say his name, but his family trusted the priest. And so after church, he would let the priest take him around and take him on trips and stuff, and he kept getting essayed by the priest. And that's not shocking to all of us. Okay, hold on a minute. Listen to this while I tried to give this person a call back to try to see if they could get on and listen to us as well. Okay, bear with me. Thank you so much. So let's go to the next thing. There's some more myths to go ahead and talk about here. This time I will show y'all some of the myths, okay? We can thank endcan.org there. 11 myths about child abuse, separating fact from fiction. It can be challenging to sort facts from fiction. Often people base their understanding of situations on things they've been repeatedly told, even if they're not true. When it comes to protecting innocent children, it's crucial to separate myths. Let me make this bigger so I can hear it. Sorry. Get this further down. Okay. When it comes to protecting innocent children, it's crucial to separate myths from facts. Here are a few myths and facts about child abuse that you need to know to support child abuse prevention and to understand its aftermath for survivors. If y'all look at the screen, y'all see a little QR code, and that's how you can get a copy of my book. I've presently got another book in the works that's at the publicist now. So, myth one: emotional abuse and neglect are less serious than physical abuse. Here's a fact: child abuse in all forms can result in actual or potential harm. There are various types of child abuse, including physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, and mental and emotional neglect, all of which include an emotional component. The emotional impact of any form of child abuse can be devastating. While physical abuse can result in more obvious signs of maltreatment because its impact can be seen, the importance of caring for the emotional health of a child cannot be overstated. Emotional abuse is associated with severe, long lasting psychological, behavioral, developmental, and physical health issues. A lot of people end up with stomach pains, ulcers. There's this where your autoimmune deficiencies, sleep problems, nervous problems, anxiety, depression. They're always thinking that they're not good enough. Joe, it is the perpetrators who's not good enough, okay? A child abuse diagnosis ruins a child for the rest of their life. In fact, child abuse and neglect is not a diagnosis or a life sentence. Any life event has a potential to impact who we become as adults. That doesn't mean that abuse has to be a life sentence. And it isn't a diagnosis. Support and access to services can provide the tools to heal. But sometimes there are some life sentences because there's people with traumatic brain injuries, okay? There's people that's got unable to walk clearly, that's got a limp. There's some people that was hurt so internally that some things can't be fixed. But you know what? We go and like thank God that we survived and He brought us through it, you know? We thank God, and I might forgive these people from the past who done these actions, but that does not mean I want this family back into my life, right? Some of the family that who are good, I will let them back in my life. But anybody that's sadistic, and said negativity towards me, I do not want him back in my life. Matter of fact, just hearing their voice makes me want to puke. I'm sorry. But being honest there. Number 3, it is easy to identify a victim of child abuse or neglect. It is not simple. It's not that simple. That's right. Although there may be telltale signs of some types of child abuse, not all victims exhibit obvious signs. Even the best parents or most astute adults may not recognize the signs of child abuse, which is not an indictment on those who failed to recognize that abuse was happening. That's true. Guess you can tell I got a touch screen. Myth 4, child abuse only happens in lower economic classes of society. Fact, child abuse doesn't discriminate. Child abuse can and does happen anywhere and to anyone. It exists in every corner of society. It transcends locations, races, socio-economic classes, and communities, and can occur in many forms. Myth 5, children lie about abuse all the time. Fact, it's rare for a child to lie about being abused. Although gathering statistics on a percentage of children who lie about abuse is difficult, it's unlikely to be true. A child won't usually use the words an adult would when reporting abuse. They may be confused, overwhelmed, or scared. As adults, our job is not to judge a child's story. Our job is to listen and to keep the children safe, or the child safe, right? That's why when an ex-boyfriend did not want me, um, that one child, that was a rare case, okay? His case was I had got on to him because I had an Xbox video game system. He would throw the controller. And I told him, don't throw the controller because he'll have to end up buying me another one. That this was my children's video game system. So he got mad. And so when I went to Walmart, his daddy, when I got back from Walmart, his daddy said he caught the two undressed in the other room. So since my boyfriend at the time caught them in that predicament, then he wanted to lie so he didn't get in trouble and said that I was doing things and I blocked the door and all that. I wasn't even there. It's kind of funny. And the doors open from the inside of the trailer. So there was no way I could block the door, because like I said, the door did not open to the outside of the hall. And there was no way to put that kind of chair that he said we put in there. And then later on, we confronted him in front of the grandparents, and he admitted that he lied about it because he wanted to just get back at me for fussing at him about trying to destroy my son's Xbox gaming system. He said he should tear him up if he wanted to tear him up. He's about 10 or 11-year-old. Myth 6, a parent's main worry should be to protect their children from strangers. In fact, more than 90% of child abuse happens at the hands of someone the child knows. It's common for parents to teach their children not to talk to strangers, and it's drilled into most children from an early age. While we should stay vigilant about abductions, that's not the whole story. Wow, I wasn't even pushing up, and it still did that. Sorry about that. Abusers often form relationships with potential victims and their families before abuse, referred to as a grooming process. Y'all hear that? Reread this right here. Abusers often form relationships with potential victims and their families before abuse, referred to as the grooming process. The process is intentional and works to gain the trust of the entire family. To prevent abuse and neglect, we must recognize that no child or family is immune to this threat. Myth 7. The most common form of abuse children experience is sexual abuse. Fact, neglect is the most common form of child abuse. Y'all see that? Of the more than 3 million cases investigated for child abuse in 2017, the most recent data available, 74.9% suffered from neglect. Neglect is most common among infants and young children, meaning that caregivers fail to meet their basic needs, including adequate health care, supervision, clothing, nutrition, housing, and physical, emotional, social, educational, and safety needs. We need to pray for our kids. Myth 8. Perpetrators of child abuse are mentally ill. Fact. There's no one-size-fits-all and characteristic that defines an abuser. While some abusers may have mental health issues that contribute to their maltreatment of a child, severe depression, leading to child neglect, many do not. One study determined that parents with mental illness are not abusive, and most abusive parents are not mentally ill. This stereotype can be particularly harmful to the general population of people who have mental illnesses and may lead others to unfairly mistrust and discriminate against them. I'm not kidding y'all, read that yourself. Okay? So most with mental illness are not abusive. And most abusive parents are not mentally ill. So they're just daggone mean, ain't they? Cruel. Myth 9. If a child is abused at a very young age, there won't be repercussions because they are so young and won't remember the abuse. Fact. Children can be and are affected by trauma at a very young age. Depending on their age and their cognitive ability, they can recall this trauma for years to come, even if it occurred when they were young. There's no absolute with this myth, but suffice it to say that as your child discloses abuse, it's best to have them talk to a professional trained to examine the potential for long-term damage. Sometimes you might forget about it, and sometimes it is hidden behind a brick wall. Sometimes it takes therapy. Sometimes it comes out in nightmares. Sometimes it comes out, you never know. Like I knew somebody that was in with a NASCAR group, and before I left there, he's in his 80s. He said, I just now remembered something I did not even know. He said, and he's in his 80s. And so some he did not even unblock until in his 80s. Child abuse isn't that common. That's a myth. Exact numbers are difficult to attain due to underreporting, but it's estimated that 1 in 7 children experience child abuse each year. In 2018, nearly 1,770 children died of abuse and neglect in the United States. Look at all the missing kids. How did we know it can't be more, right? Myth 11. Children's bad behavior provokes abuse. You see parents all the time, you made me do it. You did it. There's this thing about Junior's house here in, I think it's in Fayetteville, Tennessee. It used to, it did not exist until Junior. With the little boy, I guess he's about 5 years old, 5, 6 years old. He was going back and forth from the TV, and his dad was playing a video game. He got mad and he beat the boy and killed him. They went and found his body on the hood of the car in the hot sun. Daddy actually went and placed his body on the hood of the car with him being dead. A lot of people, when they come and seen him and came and got him, flies all around him and stuff. I don't mean to be so picturesque, but being honest. We expect out in the heat, right? And to note, that's when a lot of them later on decided, let's come together. Let's make a safe place. Let's make Junior's house a commemorative of him. Let's get it out there, his story, because his life mattered. little too late for Junior, but we need more people sticking up and standing up. Regardless of the circumstances, children never deserve to be abused. Corporal punishment forms include spanking, and no longer recommended as a parenting tactic because of the long term behavioral effects they can have on children. According to the CDC, children's behavior disorders may stem from or worsen because of harsh or abusive parenting. There are plenty of alternative forms of discipline that can be used. Facts are powerful and can lead the way to prevent child abuse and provide support for adult victims of child abuse. Find information and resources and be the change to stop child abuse. So let me see if anybody said anything that's important. I'm sorry to say. Kids can also lie about being abused. Yeah, they can. You're right. I held my ex daughter in law. She told me that um, after my divorce and everything, and I was living alone in my apartments, my son and they were seeing each other at the time. They were just dating. I held her when she said that her daddy was essaying her and had done this, that, and the other. I held her. I was there for her. Then to find out that she lied about it because she wanted to be like me. She wanted to kind of have a common bond. I'm sorry to say that. That was not a common bond. If you're going to lie about it and lie about your father doing something like that, your adopted father, I don't care who it is. If you're going to lie about it, you're demeaning our stories, the people that's trying to get out there and tell the real stories, being honest about the bold truth. So now I got another little, let's see, about more myths, okay? Now here is actually about the child sexual abuse fact sheet. I think what we're laying on this. What is child sexual abuse? Child sexual abuse is any interaction between a child and an adult or another child in which the child is used for the sexual stimulation of the perpetrator or an observer. Sexual abuse can include both touching and non touching behaviors. Touching behaviors may include involving touching of, let's just say, their private areas, the breast or buttocks, or genital contact or sexual intercourse. Non touching behaviors can include voyeurism, trying to look at a child's naked body, exhibitionism, or exposing a child to pornography. Abusers often do not use physical force, but may use play. Like I said, my cousin Charles, how he was swinging me between his legs and how he ended up seeming like that was a little game, right? And then he was getting closer and closer where I ended up touching his body as he swung me down. Okay? Deception, threats, or other forms of coercion to engage children and maintain their silence. Abusers frequently employ persuasive and manipulative tactics to keep the child engaged. These tactics, referred to as grooming, may include buying gifts or arranging special activities, which can further confuse the victim. What gets me is when Daddy and them knew about it, they still did not go in there, go back in the house and fuss at them. It's like it was still allowed. He kept taking us over there too. Who is sexually abused? Children of all ages, races, ethnicities, and economic backgrounds are vulnerable to sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse affects both boys and girls in all kinds of neighborhoods and communities and in countries around the world. I want to let y'all know about something. I had received something from an old friend, and she keeps sending me black this happened, black this happened, black, and all this. I'm like, but it happens to white people too. It don't only happen to blacks. It happens to Hispanics. It happens to Native Americans. And then recently, it really upset me when she sent me a thing saying the Bible specifically says that blacks are the main ones that's supposed to talk about certain things, but whites aren't supposed to come and like I'm being reprimanded for sticking up, against what I'm sticking up against, okay? Because according to the Bible, I'm white, so I am not supposed to. And that is such a fallacy there too. Children who have been sexually abused may display a range of emotional and behavioral reactions, many of which are characteristic of children who have experienced other types of trauma. These reactions include an increase in nightmares and or sleeping difficulties, withdrawn behavior. That's what I get for playing my trying to push that up again, right? The screen. Keep forgetting. Withdrawn behavior, angry outburst, anxiety, depression, not wanting to be left alone with a particular individual or individuals, sexual knowledge, language, and or behaviors that are inappropriate for a child's age. Although many children who have experienced sexual abuse show behavioral and emotional changes, many others do not. It is therefore critical to focus not only on detection, but on prevention and communication. By teaching children about body safety and healthy body boundaries, and by encouraging open communication about sexual matters. Y'all do play role, okay? I like when some of these people go and take the kid to the park and they'll have somebody to test to see if their grandkid or little kid will go off with a stranger. That's just this little test the parents do. Test your kids and stuff like that where you can train them to make sure that they do not do that, right? Why don't children tell about sexual abuse? There are many reasons children do not disclose being sexually abused, including threats of bodily harm to the child or the child's family, fear of being removed from the home, fear of not being believed, shame or guilt. How about if it was your own family members, your own safety zone? At home is supposed to be your safety, right? If the abuser is someone the child or the family cares about, the child may worry about getting that person in trouble. In addition, children often believe that the sexual abuse was their own fault and may not disclose for fear of getting in trouble themselves. Very young children may not have the language skills to communicate about the abuse or may not understand the actions of the perpetrator are abusive, particularly if the sexual abuse is made into a game. Like how with mine, the police threatened me that if I was to tell, yet it was my siblings that told, right? If a child discloses abuse, it is critical to stay calm, listen carefully, and never blame the child. And please don't ask them questions like, did they touch you and say this private area? You know what I mean? Because right there, you're putting more to the story than what the child is saying. So let the child come to you and tell you exactly what was done. Okay? Thank the child for telling you and reassure him or her of your support. Please remember to call for help immediately. There you go. If you know or suspect that a child is being sexually abused, please call the Child Help National Child Hotline at 1-800-4-CHILD. So that's the number I was telling y'all about, okay? At 1-800-422-4453. Again, 1-800-422-4453. Or visit the federally funded Child Welfare Information Gateway. I'm not too sure about that one, sorry. Some of the stuff I do not trust, okay? Here comes the child sexual abuse myths and all. Y'all ready? So, the myth is child sexual abuse is a rare experience. The fact, child sexual abuse is not rare. Retrospective research indicates that as many as 1 out of 4 girls and 1 out of 6 boys will experience some form of sexual abuse before the age of 18. However, because child sexual abuse is By its very nature, secretive, many of these cases are never reported. So the numbers can be even closer to that, even more boys, even more girls, either or, right? Y'all see how a while ago, whenever that other number was higher for the boys, you see how it's being known that there are more boys being involved. It's not the fact that it's changed, it's the fact that the cases are getting out there and more are getting reported. But there are still some that are not reported. Remember that. Myth: a child is most likely, I didn't tell you to scroll up. A child is most likely to be sexually abused by a stranger. Fact: children are often sexually abused by someone they know and trust. Approximately three-quarters of reported cases of child sexual abuse are committed by family members or other individuals who are considered part of the victim's circle of trust. Myth: preschoolers do not need to know about child sexual abuse and will be frightened if educated about it. There are some, there's a website out there. It's called My Body Is My Body. Okay, y'all look it up. And they actually have songs. They actually have where you could end up getting documentation of the studies, a certificate for completing the classes through them. Okay, so y'all go check out My Body Is My Body. Okay, they also have songs for your children to learn. In fact, numerous educational programs are available to teach young children about body safety skills and the difference between okay and not okay touches. These programs can help children develop basic safety skills in a way that is helpful rather than frightening. For more information on educating young children, so let's talk about Taking Care of You, an educational book about body safety for young children, available at Hope for Families. Let's Talk book information. I am going to open the link to the other side. Open link. It's not there. Oh boy, so I went and tried, didn't I? So I guess it's not there now. Myth. So, like I said, you can go look at My Body Is My Body. They even got the song on YouTube. Myth: children who are sexually abused will never recover. Here's a fact: many children are quite resilient, and with a combination of effective counseling and support from their parents or caregivers, children can and do recover from such experiences. Myth: child sexual abuse is always perpetrated by adults. Here's a fact: 23% of reported cases of child sexual abuse are perpetrated by individuals under the age of 18. While some degree of sexual curiosity and exploration is to be expected between children of about the same age, when one child coerces another to engage in adult like sexual activities, the behavior is unhealthy and abusive. Both the abuser and the victim can benefit from counseling. Myth: talking about sexual abuse with a child who has suffered such an experience would only make it worse. The fact: although children often choose not to talk about their abuse, there's no evidence that encouraging children to talk about sexual abuse will make them feel worse. On the contrary, treatment from a mental health professional can minimize the physical, emotional, and social problems of these children by allowing them to process their feelings and fears related to the abuse. Tips to help protect children from sexual abuse. Number one, teach the children the accurate names of private body parts. Y'all got that? Teach them the accurate names. Two, avoid focusing exclusively on stranger danger. Keep in mind that most children are abused by someone they know and trust. And we are hearing more and more of school teachers and police officers, like we've seen earlier, right? 3, teach children about body safety and the difference between okay and not okay touches. I really wasn't taught, but I tell you what, I knew when it was wrong when he slid me down that certain way. You know what I'm saying? I knew something was off. Too bad I wasn't protected by the adults. 4, let children, and that guy that did it was also adult, even though he was a cousin. He was in his 30s, and I was 10-year-old. Let children know that they have the right to make decisions about their bodies. Empower them to say no when they do not want to be touched, even in non sexual ways. Politely refusing hugs and to say no to touching others. That's why a lot of times you might force your child to go hug somebody and they might not want to. But you kind of like need to not force them to do, right? 5, make sure children know that adults and older children never help with their private body parts, bathing or going to the bathroom. Well, when they're younger, our kids knew that, we had to help. But other than that, number 6, teach children to take care of their own private parts, bathing, wiping after bathroom uses, so they don't have to rely on adults or older children for help. Exactly. Help your children learn to be self-reliant, right? 7, educate children about the difference between and good secrets, like surprise parties, which are okay because they are not kept secret for long, and bad secrets, those that the child is supposed to keep secret forever, which are not okay. 8, trust your instincts. If you feel uneasy about leaving a child with someone, don't do it. If you're concerned about a possible sexual abuse, ask questions. Best time to talk to your child about sexual abuse is now. So it looks like the different things that they got in here for. I went to this website and it's actually an Adobe Acrobat that I found here, right? Okay. This product was developed by the Child Sex Abuse Committee of the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, comprised of mental health, legal, and medical professionals with expertise in the field of child sexual abuse. This project was funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The views, policies, and opinions expressed are those of the authors and do not entirely necessarily reflect those of SAMHSA. I'm going to look up a website right quick. I'm going to try to see if it's still there. Let's see. I don't know if y'all can see it or not where I'm going. Oh, wow, it's not there. Let's see. Let me see. Maybe it's .org. Okay. Oh, it's still there. Okay. I want to share with y'all something on this page. I think it's recovery resources. Are y'all able to still see the page here? Okay, I think this would be very important to share it. I'm going to stop sharing and then share it again just in case y'all cannot see it, okay? Hey, Carly, good to see you. So I think this is going to be very important to note. I did have this on a prior study. So here's protecting your children advice from child molesters. I think NASCA.org and these people that put this up there, This was developed and written by child molesters in treatment at the Center for Behavioral Intervention in Beaverton, Oregon. Okay? What is child sexual abuse? So, child molestation usually begins with a sex offender gaining a child's trust and friendship. The offender then begins testing the child's ability to protect himself by telling sexual jokes, engaging in horseplay, back rubs, kissing, or sexual games. If the child appears comfortable or curious about this type of behavior, and most healthy, normal children are, the offender will slowly increase the amount and type of touching to include more direct sexual touching. Child sexual abuse can include exposing, fondling, masturbation, oral sex, intercourse, and pornography. Sorry, I'm having to be blunt, but we need to get this out there. It's very important. Many children do not understand that what is happening is sexual or wrong. Most offenders know that if they physically harm a child while molesting her, the child will be more likely to tell. They are also clever enough to make the child feel as if she is actually responsible for the contact. Children become trapped and are unable to tell anyone what's happening. Research has demonstrated that most of our school based child abuse prevention programs do not prevent children from being abused and have little impact on reporting. The reason for the lack of impact on abuse is that children are not in a good position to protect themselves from adults, especially if the adult offender is a parent or caretaker. Given the way child molesters operate, it's imperative that adults, not children, become educated about child abuse, supervise their children more closely, and take action if they suspect someone or of abusing a child. Parents, schools, churches, and community groups must also work together to develop prevention programs that incorporate parent training into prevention programs and encourage reporting. You'll see down here the stupid stuff that the child molesters will say, so bear in mind, okay? The information in this article was compiled and written by several sex offenders in treatment with the Center for Behavioral Intervention. Who are child molesters? Research indicators that 25% of children are sexually abused prior to their 18th birthday. Most children are molested by someone who they are related to or know very well, like relatives, neighbors, or family friends. One study indicated that 1 out of every 10 men has molested a child. Wow, 1 out of 10. But put in mind that this was written in 2014. So the numbers can be greatly different, you know. So despite the high rate of child sexual abuse, only 16% of child victims are able to tell someone that they are being abused, and only 3% of sex offenders are parts and they're prosecuted. Most offenders are able to get away with molesting children for years before they are reported to law enforcement. What these facts tell us is that all parents, caretakers, and community members must educate themselves about sexual abuse and child molesters in order to improve their ability to protect children. It is important for people to understand how normal child molesters look and how easily they gain access to isolate children and manipulate them into thinking that abuse is okay. So offenders also make children feel guilty and responsible for the abuse. These dynamics make it very hard for children to tell anyone what is happening, in hopes that this brochure will help you protect children from people who molest and abuse children. I'm hoping that this would get there over here to the, got to get this minimized or something. I don't understand why. Okay, there we go. Now we can see. Who is a typical child molester? I am probably well known and liked by you and your child. I could be a man or a woman, married or single. I could be a child, adolescent, or adult. I could be of any race, hold any religious belief, and have any sexual preference. I could be a parent, a step parent, relative, family friend, teacher, clergyman, babysitter, or anyone who comes in contact with children. I'm likely to be a stable, employed, respected member of the community. My education and my intelligence don't prevent me from molesting your child. Will you see that? My education and my intelligence don't prevent me from molesting your child. This is in the words of a child molester, okay? My education, okay, we said that. I can be anybody. Parents can defeat me if they work together. Educate yourself and your family and your community. How do child molesters gain access to your children? It is very easy to gain access to your child. Put in mind this is by the molesters, okay? I pay attention to your child and make them him feel special. I present the appearance of being someone you and your family can trust and rely on. I get to know your child's likes and dislikes very well. I go out of my way to buy gifts or treats your child will like. I isolate your child by involving him in fun activities so we can be together alone. If you are a single parent, I may prey on your fears about your child lacking a father figure or a stable home life. So, single parents, you see that? If my career involves working with children, I may also choose to spend my free time helping children or taking them on special outings by myself. See there? I take advantage of your child's natural curiosity about sex by telling dirty jokes, showing her pornography or him, and playing sexual games. I would probably know more about what kids like than you do: music, clothing, video games, language, etc. I make comments like anyone who molests a child should be shot. See, they're making them comments, right? Or sexually abusing a kid is the sickest thing anyone can do. If I am a parent, it's even easier for me to isolate, control, and molest my own children. I can sexually abuse my children without my wife ever suspecting a thing. I gradually block the communication between my children and their mother and make it look like I'm the good guy. I may touch a child in your presence so that she thinks you are comfortable with the way I touch her. Why don't child molesters get caught? Remember, once I start, I will do anything possible to continue molesting your child. I'm sexually turned on by kids and I enjoy being sexual with them. If I have had a lot of practice, I can become very skilled at offending. I will not stop on my own. I am very selfish and do not care if my behavior is hurting your child. But in mind, this is strictly from child abuse, child sexual abusers, okay? In Oregon. After I begun molesting your child, I maintained his cooperation and silence through guilt, shame, fear, and sometimes love. I convince your child that he is responsible for my behavior. I make your child think no one will believe him if he tells on me. I tell your child that you will be disappointed in him for what he has done with me. I warn your child that she will be the one who will be punished if she talks. I may threaten your child with physical violence against her, you, or a pet or other loved one. I may have gotten the child to feel sorry for me or believe that she is the only one who understands me. If I am a parent or live in a home with children, my behavior may look accidental. I may accidentally expose myself or accidentally walk in on the children while they are using a bathroom or changing clothes. Have y'all had anybody in your home that actually said, "Whoa, I accidentally did that"? Well, they might actually did it on purpose, y'all. Y'all see that? If I am a father, my behavior might look normal to other people. I may use situations like tucking the kids in at night to touch them sexually. I may have told my children that this is what fathers do with their children so they don't know to tell. I may be so good at manipulating children that they may try to protect me because they love me. Wow. So here's the prevention. Don't feel that your child is safe from me. At least one out of every four children will be molested by the age of 18. Here are some ways to protect children against me. Y'all ready? Don't expect, I think I need to make this a little bit bigger, I guess. I don't know if y'all can see it the way, hopefully I can. Don't expect your child to be able to protect himself from me or assume that he will be able to tell you that am abusing him. Communication, listen, believe, and trust what your child tells you. Children rarely lie about sexual abuse. Education, teach your child healthy values about sexuality. If you don't teach your child, I will. Whoa. Watch for any symptoms of sexual abuse your child might demonstrate. An excellent guide for teaching children about sexual abuse, a very touching book by Jan Hyman. For teens, No It's Not Enough by Karen Adams. Jennifer Fay and Jan Lorene Martin. For adults, By Silence Betrayed by John Crutchton. Give your child specific information about where on her body she should not be touched or touch others. Let her know that people who touch children's private parts need help because they have a problem with touching. Remind your child that secret touching is never the child's fault. Talk to your child about the ways someone might try to trick him into going along with a secret touching or not telling you that is happening to him. Make sure that your child knows that you want him to tell you immediately if something should happen, and that despite what anyone else may tell him, he will not be in trouble. Get to know your child's friends and the homes in which your child plays. Be wary of older children or adults who want to spend a lot of time alone with your child. Trust your intuition. If you feel something is not right in your child's relationships, act on it. Learn about the prevention program that your school uses and discuss it with your children. Have safety talks with your children several times a year. Add information about the risk of encountering sexually explicit materials and adult offenders in the community and on the internet. Almost one quarter of children are exposed to unwanted pornography via the internet using an ISP that offers screening for obscenity and pornography. Indications that a child is being molested. Because every child is unique, symptoms of sexual abuse vary. It can be hard to identify in some cases. Here are some things to watch for. Behavioral symptoms can include a change in modesty, ranging from becoming overly concerned about their bodies to engaging in inappropriate sexual behaviors. Physical symptoms can include genital pain, itching, discharge, and bleeding. Children can also develop stomach aches, headaches, and a variety of other physical complaints. Other changes can include sleep disturbances, bedwetting, unexplained fears or refusal to go certain places or be with certain people, school problems, difficulties with peers, excessive crying or depression, clinginess, aggressiveness, or secretiveness are also common. Children who are being abused sometimes try to deal with their problems by engaging in escape behavior. This may involve running away, drug or alcohol use, daydreaming, or becoming more isolated. Some children may not demonstrate any kind of negative symptoms. Some offenders are able to groom children for abuse in a manner that makes a child feel comfortable, close to, and even protective of the offender. Remember, if your child demonstrates any abrupt change in behavior, he may have something he needs to talk about. Repeated inquiries and supportive information may be necessary. If a child molester has begun isolating and manipulating your child, he may feel very confused about telling. The child may believe that if he tells, he will be the one in trouble or that he will lose his friend or parent. Where can you go for help? Sexual abuse is a crime. If you believe I have molested your child or any other child, don't try to handle it yourself. Now, listen what they're saying. They're actually telling you, here's the advice that they're giving you, okay? So it says, don't try to handle it self. I will always promise you that it was the first time that I had will never do it again. I will be lying, and I'm good at it. Call the police. The best thing you can do for your child and my past and potential victims is to report me to the authorities. If I molested your child, I'll do it to someone else's child unless you stop me. Wow. So I wanted to bring this attention to y'all. I thought this was very imperative to do. Please continue to share this. Please like, subscribe, and share. Get this information out there. That's from the words of the perpetrators, right? From the molesters. Wow. And y'all can go there yourself. NAASCA, NAASCA.org, NAASCA.org. Look under, there's some things near the bottom, and that's where I went and clicked on, and I found that advertisement. So it's best for us to stay together. Let's get these facts out there. Let's not worry about the myths because the myths are lies. That's where that myth of them saying, I never done this before, I won't hurt child. And the truth is, you heard it yourself. Call the police, report them, because that's the only way that they're gonna not continue doing this by being in jail. So basically, they're saying to keep me in jail. Okay, they want to stay in jail so they can be sure that they don't go and perpetrate no more. Right? And they're saying that that's the only way that your child is safe is by keeping them in jail. A lot of y'all might think, well, that's a hefty, long time. I'm thinking, well, and it best to just go ahead and protect your kids. What happened to all these people that's got the death penalty for harming kids? Instead, we had to fund them, their eating and everything else instead of getting rid of the problem. Well, we got to keep doing that when they, like in Matthew, like in the Bible here, it says, I'm going to share y'all the Bible verse again. I used to share it all the time. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. So remember that. But that's even written biblically. A lot of people say, be Christians, just let it slide. It ain't about slide because even God ain't gonna let it slide. Because he said, whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Remember that. Say thank you all. Hope that y'all have a wonderful weekend. And God bless each and every one of y'all. Please pass this on. Appreciate and love y'all. Good night.